My name is Kevin Waller. I am a therapist. I'm a mental health therapist as well as an addictions counselor. I work with adolescent males, particularly in a short-term solution-focused treatment in a wilderness setting. I would say emotional regulation is one of the biggest or the most common aspects of human life that I work with. Probably in my own personal life as well as with all the clients and families I work with. And that's tough because so much of what we do and what we're taught is to be a certain way, to follow a certain story that avoids pain, that avoids suffering. And one of the ideas that was reinforced to me was that therapy isn't about getting rid of pain or getting rid of suffering. It's allowing us and teaching us to learn how to suffer well. And we can't do that without experiencing all of our emotions. We know that people have thoughts and feelings about mental health, but the ones that are problematic are the ones that we have ourselves. It's the judgment that we put onto these thoughts and feelings that becomes problematic, because I can't control you. I can't control your thoughts and feelings. I can't control your behavior, but I can control my perceptions of it. I can control how I process these fears that I probably have about what you're thinking. Like even right now, it's easy to get attached to this thought of I'm trying to explain what I do and what I'm passionate about, and I fear that I'm not describing it in a healthy or coherent way. I mean, that's a thought that's happening right now, and it's normal. And trying to be aware that, okay, that happens, and do something to bring it back into the moment, whether it's deep breaths. Sometimes awareness alone allows us to unhook from those feelings enough that we can be present or in a connection, in a relationship, in writing or music or whatever brings us joy or that's in line with our values. It's another aspect of when we're able to be grounded, looking at what is driving our behavior. Is this a fear-based drive, or is this something that's in line with what's important to me? Healthy connection, family, love, creativity, curiosity. And if I can answer that question that, yeah, these thoughts or these behaviors in line with what's important to me, then awesome, I'm going to keep doing it. And if it's not, then I can reevaluate, all right, what is driving this? What is this story that I'm telling myself that's keeping me stuck or hooked or unaware? And it takes a lot of practice. That's the hard part, is we want this immediate gratification of emotions, of dopamine in the brain, of through drugs and alcohol, through sex, through relationship, and all of these things take time for it to last, and consistency, and that's not always sexy. But that's where the work is. Well, yeah, I think it always starts from within, and one of the most effective ways of understanding our anxiety, our depression, our trauma is getting into the body, whether that's through yoga or breath work, meditation, those things that help us to come back to the moment. You talk to athletes who talk about being in the zone or in the flow, or musicians being in the flow, or any type of creative outlet. When they're in the flow, they're being truly present. So it's anything that helps us to come back to the moment. And sometimes that means we need to distract ourselves for a moment until we can come back to the moment. But that's where growth, that's where healing, that's where satisfaction, that's where connection comes from, is being in the moment. It sounds cliche. It sounds, or at least it did to me when I'm first experiencing this, working with people or researching, and but yeah, present moment awareness is where it's at. It's where where healthy coping happens. And it also, that doesn't mean being calm, that doesn't mean being at peace, that doesn't mean finding happiness. Sometimes the last thing I want to do is be present, because that means I have to be present with pain or sorrow or sadness, and that is not fun. And I think it starts with one thing you just said: negative feelings. That's a judgment. When we tell ourselves that sadness, pain, loss, even feeling powerless or hopelessness is negative, then we're perpetuating that belief that this is bad. Hard does not mean bad. I mean, it's our judgments that we put on it. But being able to talk about it, it's hard. It's not always fun. Who wants to talk about it all the time? But having an outlet for it is important. It's needed. Again, whether that's walking, running, yoga, I think something to get into the body makes it easier for our brains to process. We process pain through our body. It's, luckily research is catching up that's where we process the most ingrained traumas or messages we tell ourselves. It's through the body. But it starts with self-care, and having an avenue to get into the body. So self-care from pushing that comfort zone of those judgments of finding a therapist, or just someone that you can talk to that's not your family, that's not a friend, that you can just be. And I think it's also awareness and allowing ourselves to sit with pain instead of trying to avoid it at all cost. And again, that's not easy. I think on a more enjoyable route is looking at, all right, what is important to me? What are my values? And focusing on those. So it's something you're working towards as opposed to something you're trying to fix or overcome. Because what value-driven choices lead to is hope, and hope is what creates change. Humor, levity, creativity. I think curiosity is a huge one that is often stifled, at least in my own life. We try to overcomplicate situations or relationships or life in general, I believe, and keeping it simple. This brings me joy. It isn't problematic to myself. It isn't hurting someone else. It isn't hurting myself. Then awesome. Anything that brings connection. But I firmly believe that meds alone are not the answer. Meds coupled with other types of intervention, from talk therapy to healthy exercise, diet, sleep is often overlooked. Sadly, the mental health industry is incredibly flawed. I think there's tons of people out there that are doing good work, that have a passion to help people learn to suffer well. And even there's a lot of mental health professionals that it's like, no, I need to subconsciously, their story is, I need to create codependency so you keep showing up so you can pay my bills. And that's sad, but you're going to find that in any profession. But there's tons of people that want to help, and whether they're licensed clinicians or just people that want to lend an ear and actually listen. But yeah, it's an uphill battle. I mean, there's a lot of lobbying going on from the social work field, the counseling field, the psychology field, amongst other helping professions. And maybe there'll be change. There will be change. While it's easy in that mindset to listen to that story of no one understands me, no one is like me, I'm all alone, which I can't imagine a scarier and lonelier place to be than when we are hooked in that state of being. And I think allowing people to give themselves a break and understand that, oh wait, it's okay that I feel this way. this I can actually use these thoughts and feelings as an avenue, whether that's through creative expression or helping other people, or just that I'm not trying to get rid of them, because that's where a lot of the belief comes, is that this is never going to go away. It's like, okay, yeah, it might not, and you can still live a value-driven life full of connection while experiencing pain. And I don't always have an answer for that. I enjoy creating something, whether it's through woodworking or the growing up in sports and martial arts, just the getting into my body and having that connection through through physical activity. I don't know if it's necessarily an art, but that's where I find a lot of connection. Helping someone, or sitting with someone and just having a conversation to where they're allowing themselves to at least have a spark of curiosity for themselves, for their future. I don't know if that's an art form, but it definitely selfishly brings me joy and satisfaction when someone else can entertain the idea that maybe something could be different, and maybe I have some influence on that. Hopefully some of that was coherent, or